Welcome. So today we're going to discuss getting a job, a federal job in information technology. Before we get too deep, certainly give us a like. Let us know what you like and don't like by commenting below the video, because either way tells us what you want to hear more of, what you want to see more of, and what you don't want to see more of. It's really helpful. Also, be sure to click the subscribe button and the bell button. That way you're alerted anytime we come out with a new video, and that way we can keep in touch with you and get more of our content regarding growing your career in IT. So let's get moving. So getting a position, a government position in IT is a bit different animal. I spent a little time in the federal government in IT, and working around it, working within the system is much different than in the commercial side or corporate side. So let's see where we get started here. So we're just going to navigate around this. So in a search bar, I'm going to type in OPM pay scale. What does that mean? Well, OPM is the Office of Personnel Management. And you should see a link like this. And what we're gunning for here is to look at the pay tables, meaning what is the salary range for the area you live in IT. So OPM is essentially like the HR for the federal government. That's who they are. And if you click this link, you should see something like this that shows you the varying pay scales by area in terms of where you might live closest to. So here's one for Vermont. Here's one for Corpus Christi, Texas, so on and so forth, right? Plenty of examples. To start out with, the federal government has what's called a general schedule. The positions in the federal government are called GS positions, especially the IT ones. So if you hear the term GS, it means general schedule, and what they're doing is they're following this pay scale here. So I'm going to click on the little globe link, and this is going to give us the rate of what the salaries are by the GS scale. So this is the grade of position first and foremost. So that's where you're going to start in terms of what position. So are you going to be a GS 10, a GS 11, GS 12? And then the step is where you start in pay. Most people will start in the step 1. It just depends on how well you negotiate your salary. So I've included a link in the description for this video about salary negotiation tips, so be sure to click on that because it'll in a roundabout way reference this exact thing. But most people will start out in a specific grade, step 1, and then go from there. Now this one talks about a 1% pay raise that is reflected in this general schedule pay as opposed to last year. What we don't see here are the locality pay differences. So just as an example, the most generic pay scale that the government has, let's just say for a grade 1, GS step 1 is $19,738, right? So that's the entry level positions, right? Let's take a step back here to look at, well, what if we included somewhere different, right? An actual location of where positions might be. So let's take a look here at, I'm going to come down to, let's just say Las Vegas, right? Let's just see what their pay scale is here. So if you look here, you see that same 1%. So if you live in or around Vegas and or have a position, maybe it's remote in the Vegas, you see that 1% increase still reflected. But here's what you see different. You see a locality payment of 17.68% difference. And you can see how the GS grade 1 step 1 is $23,000 as opposed to the $19,000 that we saw with the generic GS scale. And it's accounting for this guy, and that's the locality payment. Let me come back and just show you how that price will even differ if I go in a different location. I know that, for example, Houston, Texas has an even higher one. Vegas was 17%. Houston's almost double. 33% pay scale difference. And what are they trying to say here? They're trying to say that they can accommodate and know that the cost of living, the prices may be higher in one place or over another, and or just the demand for resources and salaries are higher in an area because the federal government has to compete with commercial as well. Commercial generally pays more than the federal government. But just as an example, this 33%, now we're at 26,000 for a GS Step 1. Whereas if we were in Vegas, it was 23,000, I believe. And if it's just generic without the locality, it was 19,000, right? So I think you get the picture here in terms of the GS grade and step that you'll start in. So over here, I've just done a quick search to show the history of how often the pay scale goes for GS positions, how much it raises every year. And you can see since 2008, the ebbs and flows of how much each person, if you were sitting in a GS position, how much you got an automatic raise, essentially. So from 2019 to 2020, there was a 1.2 difference in pay. From 2020 to 2021, there was a 1% increase raise, right? So that's that 1% that you saw. So that just gives you a general idea of, and they give an example here of a GS5, step 5, of how that person's salary has increased over time since the time perhaps they started in 2008, right? So this just gives you a general flavor of the percent pay raise, right? This doesn't necessarily account for the location pay. That's a bit different, right? So once you land a position, and we'll get into landing position here in a minute, but I think it's important to understand the GS scale before looking for a job. Then what? How do you know how often you'll move from one step to another step in terms of getting a promotion or a raise, right? And you saw that every GS position had pretty much 10 steps to it in the previous scale. So if we just look back here, click on the generic one, right? There are the 10 steps, right? But there's this thing called the WGI, and that's the within grade increase. So in other words, you're going to start out probably at a step 1 in whatever GS scale there is, and eventually, after over time, you may get a promotion, and that would be to the next step, step 2. And the time it takes to go from GS step 1 to step 2 is a year. And to qualify to get moved from step 1 to step 2, as an example, you have to meet these 3 criteria right here, which are that your performance has to be acceptable, you will have to have completed the 1-year waiting period, or the waiting period, in this case it's 1 year, and that you didn't receive any other equivalent increase over that time. So you can see moving up from step 1 all the way through step 4, each year you can move up 1 step. In step 4 to step 5, all the way through step 7, it's a 2-year wait in between steps. And then step 7 through step 10 is a 3-year wait in between steps. So if you do the math, this is an 18-year career, all assuming the same GS scale. Let's just say a GS1, for example, going from step 1 all the way through step 10 would take 18 years, right? So if that's what you're comfortable with and that's the position you like, that's kind of what you're in for in terms of the pay scale, how things move. Where do you find a job? Where do you find a federal IT job? Let's look over here at USAJobs.gov, right? And that's where I am here. I'm already logged in. You'll need to set up an account. There will be multi-factor authentication. Once you get past all that, come over here to search, right? What you want to search for the IT position specifically is this 22 series in the keywords. So you'll see 2212, 2213, these are cyber positions. If you do 2210, that brings up the information technology management position. This one's kind of the most widely one I know of that spans a wide gamut of IT positions. So in a 2210 information technology position, you can expect a project manager kind of role, a system administrator role, a help desk role. They all kind of get lumped into this thing called 2210 information technology management. So you want to click on that, and then you want to click on your location. In this case, I've already selected a few places. In this case, I selected California, and what comes up is the various positions that are available just based on a few other criteria that I selected and filtered on. And you'll see the 2210 series of positions within California, right? So like this one example is specifically in California. Others will show up that are in multiple locations that happen to include California, but that they may be looking elsewhere. Here's that GS, general schedule, that tells you kind of where the starting pay is for this one. If you look at this one as an example, this one has a much wider range, right? So over here you have some hiring paths. If you've never been in the military, then the one you want to click on is open to the public. But if you have some federal employee experience, or perhaps you are retired, a veteran, there's some other special classifications for you. For me, I'm just going to click on this guy, and then this will give me whittled down to 59 jobs within IT that are in the 2210 series and in California. Had I not selected open to the public, it would bring me 96 jobs, right? So it does whittle it down for me. And in a nutshell, that's pretty much it. That's kind of how you get started and move around within IT to obtain a federal IT job. There's certainly a lot more to it once you get in it, but I think if you're just starting out your career, or if you're even looking to jump to a GS11, GS12 position, this is where you come. Even if you're already in the federal government, you can come to USAJobs.gov and look around. So hopefully that's helped you, and please feel free to ask any other questions, and we'll see you in the next video. As a reminder, like our videos, tell us what you think about them, subscribe and hit the bell button so that you get early alerts anytime we create a new video. Click the community link to join the IT Village and other IT professionals such as yourself, where you can get your questions answered. And be sure to click the free download of How Much Can I Make Working in IT.